The pennies minted during the 1990s stand as one of the most overlooked yet numerically powerful forms of currency in modern economic history, primarily because their individual value is so small that they are rarely considered significant in isolation. A single penny, worth only 1 cent, is often ignored, discarded, or stored away in jars without a second thought. Yet this perception changes entirely when these coins are examined through the lens of accumulation and large-scale production. Throughout the decade from 1990 to 1999, the United States Mint produced billions of pennies each year, ensuring a steady supply of the smallest denomination of currency for everyday transactions. These coins were primarily composed of a zinc core coated with a thin layer of copper, a cost-saving measure that allowed for continued mass production despite rising metal costs. While the physical composition of these coins is relatively simple, their economic implications become far more complex when we begin to analyze them in terms of millions and millions of units to understand the true financial impact of 1990s pennies. It is essential to begin with basic scaling. 1 penny equals 1 cent, which seems insignificant, but when multiplied by large quantities, the value increases rapidly. 1,000 pennies equals $10, which is still modest, but 100,000 pennies equals $1,000, marking the first point at which the accumulation becomes meaningful. When we move into the range of 1 million pennies, the value reaches $10,000, a figure that clearly demonstrates how even the smallest denomination can grow into something substantial. Expanding further, 10 million pennies equal $100,000, and 100 million pennies equal $1 million. Officially reaching the milestone of $1 million, this progression illustrates a simple yet powerful mathematical truth. Value is not solely determined by the worth of individual units, but by the quantity in which those units exist. When applied to the billions of pennies minted during the 1990s, this principle reveals a staggering level of total value. In fact, during several years of the 1990s, annual penny production exceeded 5 billion coins. If we take a single year with 5 billion pennies produced, the total face value of those coins would be $50 million. This figure alone is enough to challenge the common perception of pennies as worthless. When we extend this calculation across the entire decade, assuming similar production levels, the cumulative value of pennies minted during the 1990s could easily surpass $500 million. Or $500 million. This places the humble penny into a completely different category of economic relevance, as it becomes clear that its true importance lies not in individual transactions, but in its aggregate presence within the monetary system. The idea that hundreds of millions of dollars can exist purely in the form of 1-cent coins highlights the scale at which modern economies operate and the role that even the smallest units play in maintaining financial stability beyond face value. The concept of accumulation can be explored even further by considering hypothetical scenarios. Imagine an individual or institution collecting pennies consistently over time, gradually building a reserve of millions of coins. At first, the growth might seem slow and insignificant, but as the collection expands into the millions, the total value begins to increase more rapidly. For example, a collection of 20 million pennies would be worth $200,000, while a collection of 50 million pennies would equal $500,000. Once the collection reaches 100 million pennies, the value crosses into the realm of $1 million, demonstrating a clear transition from small-scale saving to large-scale wealth accumulation. If the collection were to continue growing to 200 million pennies, the total value would double to $2 million. And at 500 million pennies, the value would reach $5 million. These examples reinforce the idea that pennies, despite their low individual value, can become a significant financial asset when gathered in sufficiently large quantities. Another layer of complexity is added when we consider the role of rare and collectible coins within the broader population of 1990s pennies. While the vast majority of these coins are common and circulate at face value, a small percentage exhibit unique characteristics that make them highly desirable to collectors. These include minting errors such as doubled dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchettes, and other anomalies that occur during the production process. Such coins can command prices far above 1 cent, sometimes reaching hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on their rarity and condition. When these high-value coins are included in a large collection, their impact on the total value can be substantial. For instance, if a collector possesses 1,000 rare pennies, each valued at $500, the total value of those coins alone would be $500,000 when combined with millions of standard pennies. The overall collection could easily exceed $1 million, illustrating how rarity and accumulation work together to create significant wealth. Condition is another critical factor that influences the value of 1990s pennies. Coins that have been preserved in uncirculated or near-perfect condition are often graded by professional organizations and assigned numerical ratings that reflect their quality. High-grade coins, particularly those at the top of the grading scale, can sell for significantly more than their face value. For example, a single penny graded at the highest level might sell for $50, $100, or even more, depending on demand. When multiplied across thousands or tens of thousands of coins, these premiums can add up quickly. A collection of 25,000 high-grade pennies, each worth $40, would have a total value of $1 million. Once again demonstrating how the combination of quality and quantity can produce million-dollar results. The physical reality of handling millions of pennies also provides insight into their scale and value. 1 million pennies weigh approximately 2.5 metric tons, meaning that even a relatively modest collection in the millions requires significant storage capacity. When dealing with tens or hundreds of millions of coins, the logistical challenges become even more pronounced. Storing 100 million pennies, equivalent to $1 million, would require not only a large physical space, but also careful organization and security measures. This tangible aspect of large-scale coin accumulation serves as a reminder that the value represented by these coins is not merely abstract, but physically substantial. Furthermore, the material composition of 1990s pennies introduces another dimension of value. Although these coins are primarily made of zinc, fluctuations in metal prices can affect their intrinsic worth. While it is generally impractical to extract the metal from pennies, the theoretical value of there can still be calculated. If the metal content of a single penny were valued at slightly above 1 cent, then millions of pennies would collectively represent a significant amount of material value. For example, if each penny contained metal worth 2 cents, then 1 million pennies would have a material value of $20,000. And 100 million pennies would be worth $2 million in metal alone. This demonstrates how even small changes in underlying material value can have a large impact when applied to millions of units. Ultimately, the pennies of the 1990s illustrate a fundamental principle of economics. Scale transforms perception. What appears insignificant on a small level becomes powerful on a large one. A single penny may be dismissed as nearly worthless, but millions of pennies represent thousands or even millions of dollars. Billions of pennies represent tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. Emphasizing the importance of accumulation in determining value, whether viewed from the perspective of face value, collectability, condition, or material composition. These coins collectively demonstrate that even the smallest units of currency can play a significant role in the broader financial system when considered in large quantities.